Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mack Story.
Hello everyone, this is Mack. Just want to let you know I'm interrupting, not delaying, only interrupting my Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision series to provide you with a 3-part interview that I done with a person I met in 2013, Mr. Jason Denam. And he works in the electrical construction business, and he's a model and an example of why I do what I do. It's pretty cool. You're going to hear him talk about, I met him in 2013. He dove into leadership development, had never heard of it, but he dove into it like I did, got crazy with it, started investing in himself, developing himself. Within a year, he had doubled his income. From 2013 to today, 2019, he's more than tripled his income. That's what I'm trying to help you do. Grow and develop yourself. Climb in the same company, go to a different company, I don't care. Make it happen. Hope you enjoy this 3-part series with Jason, and Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision will be back Friday as scheduled. Hello, everyone. This is Mack Story, and I want to thank you for joining the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. And it's really awesome for me because I get to introduce you to someone that means a lot to me, and his name is Jason Denam, and he'll be talking to you in just a second. And got my wife, Rhea. She's also with us, and she's in the background. She may jump in and out sometimes. But the main thing is going to be Jason and his story and his message. And I met Jason when a company owner of an electrical construction company actually hired me to come in and do some leadership development with actually all of their employees from top to bottom. And that's how I met Jason back in 2013. I will never forget him. He was sitting there and like he was at attention. So I'm going to go ahead and pull you in, Mr. Jason. You was at attention that day, wasn't you, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Denam. I'm in Texas, Dallas, Texas now. I'm an electrician out here, master electrician. I met Mack in 2013. He came to that electrical contractor company and changed my life, man. And I sat down over there in the corner desk, and I heard him up there talking, and he was just talking about so much stuff that I've learned from my parents, but it never has been explained to me in the way he explained it to me, and broke it down real simple for me, and I was able to interpret it in a real way because he was talking like a normal person talking. So, man, I just my eyes were like beers, and I was just gleaming, and I pulled him to the side after class, and we kind of talked about the books, and I was fascinated about the leadership because I was at a point in my career where I needed answers on what direction to go. Before I met him, I had started, I'd probably been 2013, I was probably 10 years into my career, electrical career.
How old were you, Jason?
I was...
In 2013, how old would you be around then?
2013, that was 2019, so 26 years old.
Okay.
26 or 26, yeah, 26
and where are you at today?
Old,
how old are you today?
I'm 33 years old.
Man, so you're a young man. You're making stuff happen.
Yes,
we ain't gonna get right into that just yet. But how did you get from, when I walked in to teach that day? Tell me about your journey a little bit, just your personal story. How much of it you feel comfortable sharing? Where'd you come from? Where were you at? And struggles or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, I started my first in my career. I started when I was 18. I went to this guy, man, who I still respect highly today, and he took me under his wings, and he showed me the let's work the right way. I worked with him a little while, and then I moved on to another company. And then I took on a service truck at that company and ran it for a service truck for them for a couple of years. And then I moved to the contractor in which I met you. I started off with that contractor, and of course at the bottom in the ditches, man. They kept me outside a lot on the tractors and installing underground and stuff like that. I got frustrated with that. I wanted to be able to get in the buildings and really learn. So I had to acquire my journeyman license. I acquired my journeyman license at the age of 21.
Okay.
So at that time, I brought recognition to the company at the age of 21, getting my journeyman license.
That's great.
And then so after I got my journeyman license, I saw the guys driving the red trucks. They was the guys running the jobs. Those guys fascinated me because they actually ran the job sites. They was people responsible for the job sites. I looked up to those guys. I didn't look up to how they necessarily treated everybody, though. There was some, out of respect, there were some great guys, but they just had a hardcore cultural mindset, and they didn't value people's feelings and emotional side. They more valued people's work ethics and stuff like that. And I had, a good work ethic, so I kind of fit in with that story. So, but anyway, so I went on and inquired. I kept asking everybody what I had to do to get in the red truck. So at that time, I was told that, you got to step up. You got to start running the big jobs. And I said, well, what can Jason do to be able to run a big job, to get the office to notice me, to let me be able to run a big job? And at that time, I acquired my Alabama master's license. That was in 2000, matter of fact, 12, like the year before I met you, Mr. Mack, right there and during that transition time. So I got Alabama Masters, and there I was at a roadblock in the company. I had my red truck, and I was like, dang, where can I go from here? And I was having kind of conflicts with the upper management above my head, and then God be the glory. Here comes Mr. Mack to the front door, and that's where we at.
So, how many people were reporting to you when I met you?
When you met me, Mr. Mack, I had about 4 jobs going. 4 foremen on those jobs with crews ranging from 5 to 7 people per crew. So I was kind of, I was running 4 different jobs, but going around all of them and maintaining all of them in a daily route.
Okay, so you were doing, that's pretty impressive, young as you were. You had been climbing already. And we're going to go back to that, but real quick, I want the listeners to know, and actually I want to mention one thing about Rhea, because she is going to be silent back there most of the time, but she'll jump in sometimes. But anybody who's listening who doesn't listen to Rhea's podcast, my wife, she reads far more about leadership than I do, and her lane is leadership for women. So I'm happy to have her on there, but she's being silent for the most part because she knows this is really about mine and Jason's relationship. But she's got some value to add. And any of the ladies out there, men too, can go listen to her. But you got anything you want to say right quick, Rhea, before I continue with Jason?
Sure. Just good morning, everyone. I was always excited to facilitate this call this morning because it is awesome to me to hear the conversation between you, Jason, and you, Mack, and just hear that you have both known each other. I mean, you've known each other for several years, and to see how you've both grown. And so it's fascinating for me to just kind of sit back and listen to your leadership conversation this morning. So I'm excited to be here.
Outstanding. And so, Jason, before we go back to, when I met you, and I want everybody who's listening right now to know where you're at today, six years later. And you mentioned to give me the credit. I don't get the credit. We talk about this all the time, but I know you want to give it to me. But anybody listening, Jason did the work. I met a lot of people like Jason. I met a lot of people who want to be like Jason. They don't want to raise their hand and say, I'm going to go do it, and they don't do nothing. Jason is one of those folks. Just like me, I did it when I got exposed to this stuff. This stuff made sense to me. I launched like a rocket. And Jason is one example. He's an amazing example. So, where you at 6 years later? What's changed? And then we're gonna go back, kind of like beginning with the end in mind, right, Jason? The 7 habits, begin with the end in mind. So I want to paint on a picture of this ain't the end by no means. This is just the present. But what's going on today? Where you at? What you doing? Kind of thing today.
Well, the first of all, I'm here today to God be the glory again. But the most influenced person I had in my life was Mack, of course, to get me to this journey. We had several sit-down meetings. We sat at Jim and Nick's barbecue in Auburn right before I moved to Texas. And
that's where you at now?
Very high influence. Yeah, that's where I'm at now. So I'm in Dallas, Texas right now. I run my own division for an electrical contractor. I have office staff reporting to me. I have field staff reporting to me. I answer just to the president of the company, and he's not there often. So I pretty much run my own division, do my own thing. I teach book studies every Saturday, first Saturday of the month, every month. I got a range of 15 to 17 people that actively come, and another.
You let them volunteer.
Yeah, they volunteer. It's all volunteer because I don't pay the guys. So this is just for guys that want to come in, invest in themselves, add value to themselves. And like I tell them, they're helping me out, and they tell me I'm helping them out. It's just a great conversation. You feel real good every time you leave. Everybody does, and this spreads positivity. When a group of guys can come together with the same mindset and read some leadership and talk about it, it's just a great conversation. It makes you feel good inside, and man, it gets you something to talk about when you go back the next week to your guys. So that's where I'm at today. And also I teach one other thing I implemented in leadership since I got to a position to where I can do it. Every Monday I have a group huddle with my whole division. For this 30-minute group huddle, and then 15 minutes is devoted strictly to leadership, and 15 minutes is to competency. So the other side of culture and competency, kind of like Mack explains in this great new book he has out. So the 15 minutes of leadership, we do a book study. I listen to a chapter, and guys highlight, and then we talk about it, and then we do another chapter and we talk about it, and then it just gets trying to get all my whole division all on the same page. This way they're getting paid. I'm paying them 15 minutes to do leadership, and it's amazing how guys at first don't buy in, then they see like everybody else buying in but them, and then they have to kind of go on and start buying in themselves. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at today. That's where I'm at. Leadership is the key to it. Focus on the character, not the competency. You got to do the competency, that's given, but the character, that's the most important thing in moving up the food chain.
That's right, man. And you talk about moving up, and I know you don't want to give specific numbers, and I wouldn't expect you to, and you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but for those people, what's cool about Jason, talking with Jason today, is it's awesome because he can talk about it from a near the front line type experience to now he's way up the chain, and he can talk about leading, growing, and developing others. Because 2013, Jason, you ain't never really heard of this stuff like I teach it until I walked into that room and you walked into that room, right?
No, sir. I've never had any type of formal leadership training prior to my previous employer bringing Mr. Mack into the room. That's
most companies don't do it. They don't do it, do they? Blue collar companies.
And since I left that company in that class, I've never had any formal leadership training by employer besides what I'm doing now myself. Still to today. I mean, it's just not.
You making it happen.
I have to make it happen. I have to do it myself to even make it to get any type of leadership training.
Yeah. So.
Yes,
financially, has there been any reward for you? I know the big reward is in your personal growth. You develop your family, what you're doing, your job, your career. But what kind of percentage-wise have you seen in 6 years? Because most people, there's a lot of people out there, Jason. You know them. You work with them. You see them. There's people struggling to get like 25 cents an hour raise. They just want to, and they're mad because they can't get a raise.
Yeah. Mr.
What
Mack,
kind of percentage have you seen? Yeah, what kind of growth in your financial?
On overall percentage, I'm more than two-thirds. I'm more than two-thirds double my income. I mean, I was just from what I was at, and when I first met you.
You 2 or 3 times. You 2 or 3 times. Forget about the percentage, but when you talk about how many more times you've increased your?
Oh, it's 3 times. It's 3 times. Yeah, it's 3 times.
Your annual salary is 3 times.
Yeah. So what I was making times 3 is where I'm at now in just a year.
That's a big raise.
Leadership development. Yes, sir.
And you didn't wait for a raise.
3.
You went and got a raise, didn't you? That's the difference.
Yes, sir. But I never asked for one. I mean, and my employers can vouch for that. I've never asked for a raise. I just asked for more responsibility and kind of try to take lead in initiative. And just sometimes you have to move if you hit a glass bottom, and that's kind of the situation I fell into with the employer who introduced me to you, Mr. Mack. I hit a glass bottom at that company, and that's when we talked. And it's funny, the biggest things I can remember out your class when you first taught it was you telling the whole class in front of the company on it, there's going to be some people in this classroom that's going to leave because they're going to hit the glass bottom. I mean, you talked about hitting the glass bottom and having to give up to go up and make yourself uncomfortable. And, man, all that stuff just resonated. And, yes, sir, that's a big thing.
And really, what you're describing, it happens a lot. It really happens when the leaders don't really, really get fully engaged, but they want their people to get. A lot of people bring me in to help the people get better, but the leaders themselves don't really think they need to get better. And I try to tell them, and that's what you're talking about. I try to tell these leaders, if you don't get on board, you don't start growing, those people who can actually help you transform the company the most, Jason's one of those people. They're going to be the first to go, not because you're a bad person or it's a bad company, but the hungry people, Jason's one of those hungry folks, they grow like crazy. They grow. You didn't just wait for me to come in. Once you met me, Jason, you got introduced to this stuff. You got gung-ho like me. You didn't just wait for me to be in class. That wasn't the only time you were studying and learning this stuff, was it?
Oh, no, sir. I pulled you to the side to ask you about the books, man, and got me some more books. And, man, been trying to continue to read and continue to grow myself and my character and my brand. I mean, I look at us like, we add value to ourselves. So the more we can read and, develop our character, we can add tremendous value to ourselves. Character multiplies your competency. So, if you're really confident and you got really good character, you're going to be a sought-after employee. You're going to be a guy that employers want to hire. So, yeah, man, you got to continue reading, and that's what I did, and I was interested. It lit a fire inside me because that was the missing puzzle. That was the missing piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Because I had my master's license, but I still couldn't go but so far. So, leadership helped me excel my career with my competency to where I'm at today. Yeah,
and we did. I don't remember how many you were a part of, but I think at that organization, for about a year and a half, I come in and did. There was 100 and something of you guys, I think, and I'd come in and do the same thing 3 times a month because they couldn't put all of you together. But they put everybody in the company. Everybody from the top to the bottom was in there, but not all at once. They'd put like 30. They would split the 100 into 3 groups, basically, and I'd come and do it 3 times a month. And I did that I think I did about 10 half-day workshops over the 18 months. They were repeated three times, each one of them. But you were in more than one. But tell me how that describe, for the leader out there who hasn't never done this, maybe they're thinking about doing it, or maybe they listen to this and they get inspired to do it. But as an employee, tell me, once you got a feeling for what was really going on, how did it make you? First, I'm going to ask you how it made you feel personally, and then how did it make you feel about the employer who was investing in you? So how did, the first time, maybe the second time, the third time you come through there, but how were you feeling? How was it making you feel?
Oh, well, I mean, it was amazing, man. I mean, that company owner in which brought you in, man, I still hold gratitude, I mean, for the rest of my life for, introducing me, man. What he did changed my life, by bringing you in. And it benefited his company, for a while, but more or less it benefited me for a lifetime, what he did by bringing it in. And being, that was a great company. I'm not saying anything bad about that company, but it was a couple of people that didn't buy in, and that was the only reason that I couldn't elevate anymore and hit a glass bottom. that's the important part of the bringing leadership into a company is getting everybody to buy in, and he just had a problem with setting anyone to the side that didn't buy in. I just think over time, if someone doesn't buy in, they're going to be like a bad apple in an apple bag. It's going to spoil the whole bag, potentially.
Yeah.
It's going to rub off. There's always going to be an infection. It's always going to be sitting in the bag, rotten. So you got to get that one out of the bag, ultimately, to make you have a solid group of guys. It takes time. I know some guys have high competency. And this was a situation, the guy was very, very competent. His character's way higher than his competency. I mean, his competency was way higher than his character. And that's my philosophy is that something should never happen. If your competency is higher than your character, then you got a problem. So that's kind of the situation was there.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, right? Where people have a lot of competency, but they may be arrogant or have too much ego, or they think they don't have to listen to other people. They don't ask other people questions. They just want to, as a boss or a leader, they want to just direct and dictate, and it doesn't work. You far up the ladder now. That doesn't work too well, does it?
Oh, no, sir. And that's a big thing with me, man. I always ask my guys a question, and they always, they know now I'm going to ask them a question, and when they come up to me, because I want to hear what they're thinking. I want to let them be innovative with their minds. If I come on every time and give them what I want them to do, then I'm doing too much thinking. I'm not delegating any thinking to my team. And then, a team decision is better than an individual decision all day. So, man, you gotta ask questions. You got to ask questions, get other people's mindset, get people involved, make them feel like their opinion counts. Yeah.
And you were talking about, when somebody's competency is greater than the character, how it causes conflict. Just this morning, I saw a video somebody had shared on social media, and it was actually Nick Saban, the head coach of Alabama. I think it was a long time ago. He looked a lot younger than he does now, but maybe it was from the beginning. But it was pretty cool what he was talking about, and he was basically talking about team chemistry. And his quote basically was, he said, high achievers don't like mediocre people, and mediocre people don't like high achievers. And that's what he's talking about. When you got mediocre, and we're talking about character, me and you today on this call, relative to that. When you got people of high character and people of low character, they don't work well together. And that's where you're talking about it. If you were the CEO of a company, that'd be critical to you, wouldn't it? Developing the character so that everybody can actually have chemistry.
Oh, yes. It's very critical, man. I mean, developing. Because, you got over my career, I've seen so many upper management that their competency outweighs their character. And that's what's holding the whole company back. If you got too many people like that in the company with the competency higher than their character, then you don't have, your growth is limited. Because those people are holding you back because they're making interaction with clients, employees, vendors, everybody that's negative, and taking deposits away from these people and accounts. And over time, I just don't see growth. Some people will continue to hire you because you're competent, but as soon as a company comes along that's competent, that has competency and character, that company is no longer needed at that time.
That's a good point. Sure, when our competency is high, that's an advantage. But when we have competency and high character, it always will outshine the individual that just has competency. So that's a really good point. I know we've got just a couple more minutes before we wrap it up. Any further thoughts?
You got something, Jason, you want to say before I kind of close us out of this episode? And just for the listeners, we're going to do multiple episodes. This will be a multi-part series. We ain't exactly sure how many. It's going to be at least 2, maybe 3 or 4. You'll figure that out once you start listening to these, because we'll publish it and say it. But you got anything relative to your growth journey here, Jason, before we move on to the next episode?
I just would like to say, anybody listening, man, if you're at a standstill, you can't move forward, don't know where to go with your career, get you some leadership books, start reading them. Mack got a great line. I mean, I've read most of his, and then, man, it's very simple, easy to read. I listen to Audible all the time. I listen to the YouTube. I mean, you can do that in podcasts, obviously the podcast. So there's plenty of ways to move your career forward if you want to. So you just get online and look it up. Look up Mack's story. Check him out.
All right, Jason. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today, and we're going to have another episode coming soon. But just want to tell everyone that the next episode I'm going to be talking to Jason some more. We're going to continue, and I'm going to talk about how he does this as a leader. Leading book studies, like he just talked about a lot of the ways he grows himself, and we'll blend some of that in. But how he sees as a high level leader, how does leadership development impact customers and suppliers and the relationships beyond the four walls, and what's the impact of the culture of an organization on being able to attract the great people. Jason talked about being an employee of choice, meaning people want to hire you. That's where you go get to work on yourself. But then also as a top leader like Jason is today, how do we become an employer, a sought-after employer of choice, so that we don't have to be searching for good people all the time. We can actually start attracting great people. So we'll talk about that, and I'll ask Jason some opinions about some of my books and how they impacted him, how he uses them with his team, and real results that he's got as a leader investing in people. You heard he's got like ridiculous results by investing in himself that started with his company investing in him. And so I'm excited. We'll be back soon for another episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Mr. Jason Denam, and talk to you next time.
Make it happen, or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mack Story's Blue Collar Leadership Series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mack's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.